Have a good day. In this video, you will learn how to get the sum and product of the roots of a given quadratic equation. And this will be the formula for us to easily identify the sum and product of the roots of a quadratic equation. For the sum of the roots, so we will use x sub 1 plus x sub 2 is equal to negative b divided by a. And for the product of the roots, we will use this formula x sub 1 multiplied by x sub 2 is equal to c over a. So let us have the following example. So let us determine the sum and product of the roots of the equation x squared minus 2x is equal to 8. So write the given quadratic equation. So the first step whenever we determine the sum and product of the roots of a given quadratic equation is to write the given quadratic equation to its standard form. So from this example, we will move our constant term to the other side of our equation. So from positive 8, this will now become negative 8. So the standard form of the given quadratic equation now will be x squared minus 2x minus 8 is equal to 0. Then afterwards, let us identify the value of a, b, and c. So the value of a here is positive 1. The value of b is negative 2. And the value of c here is negative 8. So let us now use the formula in determining the sum and product of the roots of this given equation. For the sum of the roots, so you will use x sub 1 plus x sub 2 is equal to negative b divided by a. So for us to get the sum of the roots, so we'll just simply substitute the values of b and a from the formula that we have. So we have here negative times negative 2 divided by a. So since the value of our b is negative 2 and the value of our a here is positive 1. So let us simplify. Negative times negative 2, we have here positive 2 divided by 1. And then when we simplify, we have here our answer, which is equal to positive 2. So the sum of the roots of the given equation is equal to 2. For the product of the roots, so we will use this formula, c divided by a. So the value of c here is negative 8. So negative 8 divided by a, which is the value of a here is 1. So when we simplify negative 8 divided by 1, we got here negative 8. And that will be the product of the roots of our given quadratic equation. Okay, so let us now have our example number 2. So you have here 3x squared is equal to negative 4x plus 9. So the first process or the first step to do is to have to write the given quadratic equation to its standard form. So therefore, we're going to move negative 4x, our linear term, to the other side of our equation. Same with our constant term, which is positive 9, to the other side of our equation. So you got here 3x squared. From negative 4x, this will now become positive 4x. And then from positive 9, this will now become negative 9 is equal to 0. Then afterwards, we are now to identify the values of a, b, and c. So the value of a here is positive 3. The value of b is positive 4. And the value of c is negative 9. Then afterwards, we're going to use our formula to get the sum and product of the roots of the given quadratic equation. So for the sum, again, we're going to use x sub 1 plus x sub 2 is equal to negative b divided by a. So we have to copy negative, then the value of b here is positive 4, then divided by the value of a, which is 3. So when we simplify our numerator, so negative times positive 4 will give us negative 4 divided by 3. So since our expression is already written to its simplest form, and we will not have here an exact answer whenever we divide 4 by 3, so therefore, this will be our final answer. So this will be the sum of the roots of our given quadratic equation. And for the product, we will use x sub 1 times x sub 2 is equal to c over a. So the value of c is negative 9. And the value of a here is positive 3. So whenever we divide negative 9 by positive 3, we will come up here with the answer with the product of negative 3. So therefore, this will be the product of the roots of the given quadratic equation. Next example, we have here 6x squared is equal to 18x minus 2. So the same thing. So the first process na kailangan pong gawin is to write this given quadratic equation to its standard form. So we have to move positive 18x to the other side of our equation. So you got here 6x squared. So from positive 18x, this will now become 18x, as well as our constant term to the other side of our equation. So from negative 2, this will now become positive 2, and then that is equal to 0. Then for the values of a, or the value of a here, ayan po, positive 6. The value of b here is negative 18. And last, for the value of c, we have here positive 2. Okay, so we already identify the values of a, b, and c. So let us use our formula to determine the sum of the roots of the given equation. So again, we have here, for the sum, we have to use negative b divided by a, so that is equal to negative times the value of b here is negative 18. Divided by a, the value of a here is 6. So when we simplify negative times negative 18, this will now become positive 18 divided by 6. So therefore, when we divide 18 by 6, so we come up here as the sum of the roots of the given quadratic equation equal to 3, or positive 3. Then, for the product, we use our formula x sub 1 times x sub 2 is equal to c over a. So the value of c here is positive 2, and the value of a here is positive 6. So since we cannot be divided 2 by 6, so we'll just simply express our expression to its simplest form. So when we simplify 2, or 2 over 6, so this will now become 1/3. Okay, bakit po naging 1/3? So because the greatest common factor of our numerator and our denominator is 2, so we have to divide both our numerator and our denominator by 2. That's why we have here our answer, which is equal to 1/3. Then, for our next example, we have here 4x squared is equal to negative 13x. So our linear term, again, will be moved to the other side of our equation. So you have here 4x squared plus 13x is equal to 0. So this is an incomplete quadratic equation since there is a missing term from our given quadratic equation. For the value of a, we have here positive 4. For the value of b, we have here positive 13. And for the value of c, we have here 0. Since our constant term is missing from the given quadratic equation. Then for the let us use our formula to determine the sum. So you got here negative b over a. So that is equal to negative, the value of b is 13, and divided by a. So our a here is, or the value of our a here is positive 4. So since our expression is already written into its simplest form, so we'll just simply copy. So simplify lang po yung numerator. Negative times positive 13 is negative 13 all over 4. So this will be the sum of the roots of our example number 4. Then for the product, we use our formula c over a. So the value of our c here is 0, and our a is 4. So simply, the product of our example number 4 quadratic equation is equal to 0. Okay, so these are the sum and the product of the roots of our quadratic equation, example number 4. That is on how we just simply determine the sum and product of the roots of the given quadratic equation. So I want you to do this or try this. You have to determine the sum and product of the roots of the quadratic equation x squared plus 6x minus 10 is equal to 0. So this is again to test yourself if you really understand the given topic. Next to learn is on how you're going to determine the quadratic equation given the sum and the roots or sum and product of the roots. So to determine the quadratic equation given the sum and product of the roots, we will use this formula. Okay, so the formula that we're going to use will be x squared minus the quantity of the sum of the products, x, plus product of the roots is equal to 0. So this will be the formula that will help us to easily determine the quadratic equation given the sum and the product of the roots. So let us have our first example. We will determine the equation of the quadratic equation given its sum, which is 4, and its product, which is 3. So through the use of this given formula here, so you will copy x squared minus what is the sum of the roots given, so that is positive 4. Do not forget to write here x, plus the product of the roots, which is positive 3, is equal to 0. So therefore, this is the quadratic equation given the sum of the roots, which is positive 4, and the product, which is positive 3. Next example, given the sum, which is negative 3, and its product, which is negative 6. So again, you copy x squared minus the sum of the roots is negative 3. X plus the product is negative 6 is equal to 0. So we're going to simplify po each term. So you copy again here x squared and then negative times negative 3x. You got here positive 3x. And then positive times negative 6, you got here negative 6 is equal to 0. So again, this will be the quadratic equation given the sum of the roots, which is negative 3, and its product, which is negative 6. Next example, the given sum of the roots is 5, and the product is negative 11. So you copy again here x squared minus the given sum of the roots, which is positive 5, x, plus the product of the roots, which is negative 11, equal to 0. So you got here x squared. So negative times positive 5, you got here negative 5x. Then positive times negative 11, so you got here negative 11 equal to 0. Again, this will be the quadratic equation whenever the given sum is positive 5 and a product of the roots, which is negative 11. Now let's have our fourth example. So we're going to determine the quadratic equation given its sum, which is 2/3, and its product, which is 4/3. So again, we're going to use this formula. So you copy here x squared minus the sum of the roots, which is 2/3 x, plus the product of the roots, which is 4/3, equal to 0. So ano pong napansin? From the previous examples, ano pong napansin nyo from the given sum and product? Okay, so fraction form po. Very good. So, whenever we write our quadratic equation, so it is always must be written in the form ax squared is equal to bx plus c is equal to 0, wherein the denominators of each term should be 1. So, meron po tayong nakikita from this example that the denominator is 3. So, we're going to get the LCD or the least common denominator of both the denominators of the fractions that we have. So, that is 3 and 3. So, therefore, we can easily identify the least common denominator here, which is 3. So, since the LCD is 3, we're going to multiply each or both sides of our equation by 3. Okay? So, we're going to multiply here. We're going to apply here the multiplication property of equality for us later on to cancel out our denominator, which is 3. So, the first thing that you're going to do is you have to multiply 3 by x squared. So, you got here 3x squared, or simply 3x squared. Next, we're going to multiply 3 by negative or 2/3 or positive 2/3. So, we're going to show it here. So, you have here 3 over 1 multiplied by 2/3. So, you got here 3 times 2 here is 6 divided by 3. So, 6 divides 3 will give us 2. Okay, so therefore, you got here negative 2x. Okay, plus the last term po, we're going to multiply as well si positive 4 over 3 by x. So, 3 multiplied by 4 over 3. So, you got here again 3 over 1 multiplied by 4 over 3. So, you got here 12 divided by 3. So, simply multiply the numerator by the numerator, denominator by the denominator. So, 12 divides 3 will give us an answer which is 4 is equal to 0. Then, afterwards, let us simplify po yung mga sign po ng ating given na term. So, you copy for the first term which is 3x squared. The negative times 2, you got here negative 2x. Then plus 4 equal to 0. So, therefore, this will be the quadratic equation given that the sum of the roots, which is 2/3, and having its product, which is 4/3 or 4 over 3. Okay? Okay, another example, we have here, or we have to determine the equation given the sum which is negative 7 over 5 and its product which is negative 2 over 5. So you got here x squared minus the sum of the roots which is negative 7 over 5x plus the product of the roots which is negative 2 over 5 equal to 0. Then, afterwards, again, we're going to identify the least common denominator of the two terms that we can have here, and the LCD of 5 and 5 is, of course, 5. So, we're going to multiply both sides of our equation by their LCD, which is 5. So, to determine, we're going to multiply on the left side of our equation each term by 5. So, 5 times x squared, so you get here 5x squared minus, okay? Then, we're going to multiply 5 by negative 7 over 5. So, let me show it to you. 5 over 1 multiplied here by negative 7 over 5. So, another way on how we're going to multiply a fraction po is by doing the cancellation of the numerator and the denominator if possible across po. So, 5 and 5, their GCF is 5. So, 5 divides 5 is 1 and the other one is also equal to 1. So, let us simplify. 1 times negative 7 is negative 7. All over 1 times 1 here is 1. So whenever we simplify negative 7 over 1 as a whole number, so you got here negative 7x. Okay? Plus, we're going to also multiply our last term, 5 by negative 2 over 5. So the same thing. So 5 can now be equal to 1. So 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. 1 times 1 will give us 1. So whenever we simplify, this will now become negative 2 equal to 0. Then, let us simplify po yung atin pong mga signs sa bawat term. So from the first term, you got here 5x squared. Then negative times negative 7x is equal to positive 7x. Then positive times negative 2, you got here negative 2 equal to 0. So therefore, this will be our quadratic equation given the sum of the roots, which is negative 7 over 5, and the product, which is negative 2 over 5. Okay, last example. Let us determine the equation given the sum, which is positive 3/4, and its product, which is negative 5 over 3. So you have here x squared minus the sum of the roots, which is 3/4 x, plus the product, which is negative 5 over 3 equal to 0. Again, we're going to first determine the least common denominator of 4 and 3. And the LCD of 4 and 3 here is 12. That's why we're going to again multiply both sides of our equation by 12. So the first term, which is x squared, so 12 times x squared, that's why you got here 12x squared. Then afterwards, we're going to multiply 12 by positive 3/4. Okay, so you have here again 12 over 1 multiplied by 3/4. So pwede pong ma-cancel out si 12 and 4. Their GCF is 4, so that's why 12 divides 4, it will now become 3, and 4 divides 4 is equal to 1. So 3 times 3, you got here 9. Divided by 1 times 1 here is 1. So when we simplify 9 over 1, that is also equal to 9. So you got here minus 9x. Plus, for the last term, so we're going to multiply 12 by negative 5 over 3. So when we multiply, this will now become 12 over 1 multiplied by negative 5 over 3. So same thing, we can simplify po or make 12 and 3 smaller. So 12 and 3, their GCF is 3. So 12 divides 3 is 4. And 3 divides 3 here is 1. So 4 times negative 5 is negative 20. Divided by 1 times 1 here is 1. So when you simplify, this is also equal to negative 20. So you got here negative 20 equal to 0. Next, simplify po natin yung mga sign ng bawat term. So you got here for the first term, you copy here 12x squared. Then negative 9x. Then afterwards, positive times negative 20 here is negative 20 equal to 0. So therefore, this will be the quadratic equation given the sum of the roots, which is 3/4, and the product, which is negative 5 over 3. And for you to test yourself if you really understand the topic on how are going to determine the equation given the sum and its product, so I want you to try to answer this, okay? That's all in this video. I hope that you learned how to determine the sum and product of the roots of the quadratic equation, as well as on how to determine the equation given the sum and product of the roots of a quadratic equation. So thank you for watching and goodbye.